Welcome to a brand new episode of Wrestling with Siblings. I'm your host, Araceli, and this is my co-host, Armando.
Hi guys, I'm Armando, and welcome to Wrestling with Siblings.
We have some really good news for you guys. We are now on Anchor, and we are also on iTunes. So go subscribe, leave a review, let us know what you guys think, and become a...
sibling today.
Exactly. Let's get started with Vince McMahon, the chairman and CEO of WWE, is shown arriving in his limousine. And you could already tell this was going to be important just because that's the way they opened Raw.
But even then, he is keeping his word of what he said, that it's new opportunity for everybody, and that he was going to be showing up more to Raw and SmackDown, which is pretty good. And I mean, what a way to start off the year, man. Raw was amazing. Same thing with SmackDown, which we'll get into it later.
I 100% agree with that, but let's get started with Braun Strowman, who opens up the show. He comes out and he pretty much says that Brock Lesnar has always been afraid of him one way or another. You know, excuses is what he claims that Brock Lesnar has come up with. I don't agree with that.
Me neither. It's more of mind games from Brock Lesnar, but keep in mind that Brock Lesnar has defeated Braun Strowman in the past, so he really has nothing to prove against Braun Strowman.
And Braun Strowman does say that he is ready, that he's all healed up, and that the Beast should be ready for him. Personally, I don't think Braun is ready. I don't think he's healed, I should say.
Me neither. I have to agree with you on that 100%. I think that he came back too soon at TLC. He needed more time, and I mean, the match he had at TLC was a no disqualification match, and obviously half the roster helped him out, which is a sign that he wasn't ready to compete at 100%.
Exactly, I agree with that. And he also states that there is nothing anyone can do to stop him from walking out of the Royal Rumble WWE Universal Champion.
Yeah, I see what he's saying at some point.
And Baron Corbin decides to interrupt, and he's trying to talk, but Braun Strowman does not let him even begin to say a sentence. And then, you know, Baron goes on to say that he's winning the Rumble, that he is going to get a championship opportunity. And he also calls out Braun and says that he hasn't been able to beat Brock Lesnar, you know, and that kind of gets under Braun Strowman's skin. And so he gets really upset and starts chasing him. You can see him in the back. And then the snitch snitched him out. Elias is seen backstage, and it's really cool because he starts playing a song, and Braun hears him, and then he's like, oh, so I know where Baron Corbin went. He's in the limousine. And so I was surprised that he didn't get attacked by Braun Strowman. Yet again, he gave him some valuable information that he was inside Vince's limo.
I don't blame Elias for telling Braun Strowman where Baron Corbin was hiding. I mean, if I was in Elias' shoes, I would probably do the same thing. Why? Because I don't want to get those hands, and I know the destruction that Braun Strowman could do.
Exactly. You took the words right out of my mouth. I definitely do not want to get those hands. Definitely not. So, yes. Elias, good job. And so then, the first thing Braun does is he goes up to the limo, and he just completely tears it apart. He takes out the door, and then he sees Baron Corbin, and then Baron Corbin just runs, and then Vince comes out, and he's like, what did you just do to my limo? And then he finds him. He's like, you will now be charged $100,000 for this limo. And then...
that's a very, very expensive limo to tell.
Exactly. And then Braun is like, this is worth $100,000? This is not worth $100,000. And, you know, he raised his voice at the chairman. He made Vince McMahon angry, and Vince was like, you want to raise your voice? Then fine. You know that championship match that you have at the Royal Rumble? You are now out of it. So, therefore, that completely changes the course of the main event at the Royal Rumble.
Shoot, if I was Vince McMahon, I would be mad too. If someone were to destroy my $100,000 limo, I would probably do the same thing.
Exactly. You don't just go and destroy somebody's limo, especially not your boss and the owner of the company in which you work for.
But again, this was pretty much like we were saying earlier, that Braun Strowman, we feel like he's not 100% ready to compete yet.
Exactly. So that could have also been a possibility as to why they took him out of this match. Facing Baron Corbin was easy, though, because it was something, yeah, he had help, but did he really need help? No. He could have taken him on Baron Corbin, and nothing against him. He could have taken him one-on-one, and he would have still probably beat him with one hand. But now it's like you're facing somebody like Brock Lesnar. They cannot make Braun look weak against Brock again.
That is correct. I have to agree with you on that one.
Let's get into the very first match of the night, which was Ronda Rousey and Sasha Banks versus Tamina and Nia Jax. Now, keep in mind, Ronda is facing Sasha Banks at the Royal Rumble for the Raw Women's Championship, and they were going to have to be able to become a tag team to be able to overcome Nia and Tamina.
Yeah, I mean, and obviously when you work against someone you're going to face at a pay-per-view, it's always kind of hard because you know that they're going to be watching every single move. And there comes that time where they might betray you or attack you from behind.
Exactly. And in this case, Tamina and Nia Jax, and I also feel like Sasha played a huge role in this. They did a great job keeping Ronda Rousey out. The majority of the match, it was Sasha Banks, and the only time that Ronda came in, she attempted to put, I believe it was Tamina, in the armbar. And then she was like, she got away from it. But, you know, she wanted to prove a point. She wanted to show her, hey, if this is you 2 weeks from now on Sunday, you're done. And so Sasha carried basically this entire match, even though she was getting dominated by Tamina and Nia Jax.
Yeah, and I mean, Ronda, again, with the quickness, the way she executes her submission moves, I mean, it's just impressive. She just does them like that.
Exactly. She's a major, major powerhouse.
Definitely.
And I feel like she is one of the only powerhouses that the women's division has in both Raw and SmackDown, because if you really think about it, Nia Jax and possibly Ronda Rousey, maybe Sarah Logan can be considered the powerhouses. Other than that, I mean, you don't really have anybody else.
Yeah, that is true.
And she's learned how to take advantage of her power. She has capitalized on that super, super well. She uses it to her advantage.
Well, not only that, but it's also intimidating to the rest of the women.
Yeah, because you don't have a lot of them, like I said, that are powerhouses. Everybody else pretty much falls under the same category. And Tamina, again, you can also consider her, I guess. I would consider her another powerhouse. But other than that, there isn't much of powerhouses. And, I mean, Sasha Banks, extremely talented, always giving it 100%. None of her matches ever disappoint.
Yeah, keep in mind that she didn't have Bayley at ringside with her.
Yeah, just a heads up. She's able to succeed, you know, even with or without Bayley. But it is important to point out, Bayley was not at ringside. And, as I said, who do you feel is going to come out victorious at the Rumble?
Between Ronda and Sasha, I'm going to have to go with Ronda.
I'm going to have to go with Ronda as well, just because I really do not see Sasha Banks being the woman, even though I guess you can say she deserves it to be the one that beats Ronda Rousey. But I definitely see Ronda retaining after the Royal Rumble. Of course, the match card can change, but so far that's what it is.
Yeah, Ronda definitely, and I'm sure you could agree with me, this is probably one of the biggest matches that Ronda has had throughout the year.
Exactly. I mean, she's had quite a few, like the one with Nikki. This one is definitely going to be one of the big ones, and I believe she's had another one. I just can't remember off the top of my head.
Might even be probably her best opponent she has faced so far. Not to underestimate the rest of the women in the division.
I mean, I feel like Sasha is at Charlotte's level. I feel like she is up there, and this is going to be quite a challenge. But we do also have to keep in mind the athleticism of both the women she's faced. So she's going to have to do her homework on Sasha Banks in order to come out victorious.
And this is a better Ronda Rousey and a more experienced already. Having almost a year in WWE has really shown what she's capable of.
Exactly. Moving on to the backstage where we get to see Bayley and Natty backstage. They're obviously both defending their parties. Sasha is being defended by Bayley, and Ronda being defended by Natty. And, you know, they both say, oh, well, Sasha needs to learn how to control her emotions. No, Ronda needs to learn how to control her emotions, because they were both pretty upset. And then that's when the Riot Squad is like, we like causing trouble. Find yourself a friend, meaning a tag partner, and we'll see you guys in the ring. And so therefore, it kind of left the question of who was Bayley and Natty going to pick to face against the Riot Squad.
Me personally, I couldn't think of nobody who they were gonna choose as their partner.
I agree with that. I mean, the only possible option was Ember Moon, just because, you know, they're pretty good friends with Ember, but I'm glad they picked a fresh face, new talent, but we'll get into that when the time comes. All right, moving on to the Lucha House Party versus the Revival. What can I really say about this match? I mean, two incredible teams. They both know the sport super, super well, and they both know each other super, super well.
Definitely, they faced each other so many times already that this was another chance for the Revival to redeem themselves after being screwed over and over.
And they finally did. You know, they finally got that win. As we saw, they both had to assist each other to get this win because, was it Grand Metalik? I think it was Grand Metalik. He had his foot on the rope, and then I believe it was Wilder who went and just pushed it off without the ref seeing. So they had to cheat to win, but hey, you can't blame them because the Lucha House Party cheated all the times they were able to beat the Revival.
Yeah, sometimes you gotta do what you have to do to get that win, and this is a different Revival that they're willing to do whatever it takes to win that, whether it's cheating or just do whatever.
We didn't actually get to see the tag champions this week, though, so that's interesting. That's a good sign, but that's also a bad sign because they are supposed to be, you know, on the show, I believe. And then the Lucha House Party, incredible athleticism, man. That's all I can say about them because they bring something new to the table. They get creative each and every single time they step foot into the ring.
Definitely, like you said, they bring something new, and we want to see that creativity from them, but from everybody else.
Exactly. We want to see what everybody has to bring to the tables, and I feel like it's going to be interesting to see where the Lucha House Party and the Revival both go from here. All right, moving on to the chairman and CEO, Vince McMahon, who comes out to pretty much address who is going to face Brock Lesnar at the Royal Rumble. So he comes out and immediately interrupted. He didn't even say a word. He didn't even get the opportunity to breathe because John Cena immediately comes out and he is like, well, you know what? When The Rock left, when Stone Cold Steve Austin left, when Brock left and said, see ya, Vince, I was the one man that stepped up and said, give me a chance and I will not let you down. So he was pretty much trying to get Vince to be like, okay, give me that opportunity and I will be that champion. And Cena was pretty confident that he was going to go on to the Rumble and become 17-time champion. As we do know, he's tied Ric Flair with 16.
Yeah, he wants to beat Ric Flair and be a 17-time world champion. But I have to agree with what John Cena said. He was there when Vince McMahon really needed him. And, I mean, it shows throughout his career what he has done. You know, and I'm sure if he would have got the opportunity, we all would have agreed that what other person than John Cena to face Brock Lesnar. And keep in mind, John Cena has defeated Brock Lesnar twice, if I'm not mistaken.
I believe he has, yeah. And then I believe that Brock has one win over him. And I believe it was SummerSlam 2016 where Suplex City was born. But, anyways, Drew McIntyre interrupts and he says he doesn't care about John Cena's 16-time championships. He doesn't care about the book that he's writing, and he sure as hell doesn't care about the movies that he's in or here to promote.
Or the ruthless aggression that John Cena has, which when John Cena told Vince McMahon that, you know, he possesses one thing that nobody else in the locker room possessed, and that was ruthless aggression, I thought we were going to see that John Cena that faced Kurt Angle when he first debuted in SmackDown. And it got me all excited. I'm sure it got everybody else excited because we want to see that John Cena too.
And Drew McIntyre is super, super confident. I mean, I understand what he says when he says he's the new ruthless aggression. I mean, come on, just look at the way he beats people up. It's crazy. And Baron Corbin interrupts and he comes out and he said that his life was threatened by Braun Strowman. And he says he wants Brock at the Rumble. I mean, come on, let's be real. We know that was not going to happen, and we know that's not going to happen. He's probably the most hated man in the WWE as of right now. So Vince was not going to make that call, for sure. And then Finn Balor, he comes out and he says, well, it looks like I am always left out of all these conversations. And he's right, because when it comes to getting a title opportunity, he's always the last one in line. And he always has to earn his opportunity, and we're going to see that later on tonight, or in this match. But I feel like it's finally Finn's time.
Yeah, I feel it too. It's that time where he deserves something big, and hopefully it happens for Finn. And I think this is going to be one great year for Finn Balor. He deserves it because he really hasn't been that Finn that we want to see ever since he got injured.
And Vince tells him, like, he straight up tells him, like, you are a great competitor, you have great athleticism, and Finn is basically like, so you've never really believed in me, but look, these people do, as you hear the crowd cheering in the back. And I feel like he's right. You gotta give Finn credit. He is definitely correct. I do believe he's right. Vince more than likely doesn't believe on him. He probably sees him like as a small guy who doesn't have the potential to go up against these big guys.
But he does have the potential. We all know that.
Exactly.
But Finn Balor should also take this as motivation to prove to Vince McMahon that he could do bigger things in the WWE. And I think that's what Vince McMahon was also trying to get out of Finn Balor. I mean, we've seen him get that from AJ Styles. Why can't he do the same thing with Finn Balor?
Exactly. And we also did see Triple H do that with Seth Rollins recently. So obviously it's a plan, and we'll get to see where that goes. And then Finn claims he is going to show Vince that he deserves that opportunity. But then Drew McIntyre cleans house. Are you surprised? Nope, not really.
He's had one hell of a year, and he is probably one of the top superstars in the roster right now.
I 100% agree with that.
I mean, he is here to do what he said he was going to do at the beginning. No doubt about it. And he's making statements with not only with Kurt Angle, with John Cena, everybody that steps in his way, he's going to get rid of.
Exactly. And the Riot Squad versus Bayley, Natty, and we get to see a new face, Nikki Cross. She debuts. It looks like they're going to be going back and forth from Raw to SmackDown, from SmackDown to Raw.
But keep in mind that she had already made her debut in SmackDown.
Against Becky Lynch when she issued an open challenge for the SmackDown Women's Championship. So it looks like they're going to be going back and forth, like I said. But Nikki Cross and Sarah Logan pretty much start off this match. And I do want to point something out. If you really notice, Bayley and Natty didn't really take much part in this match. Neither did Ruby Riott. And I feel like that's because they're trying to get people like Liv Morgan, Sarah Logan, Nikki Cross all over. You know, they're trying to get them. They're trying to get people to see their potential and who they are, because we already know what Bayley can do. We know what Ruby can do, and we definitely know what Natty can do. And this match was focused around these three women.
Yeah, definitely. And what better opportunity to show themselves in a match. If you don't get ring time, you don't show yourself. And, you know, this is pretty much what we saw in this match.
Exactly. With those three women taking over, we did get to see that Liv Morgan has improved so much. So has Sarah Logan. You have to give them to these two. I feel like them being under Ruby Riott's wing has really, really helped them. And whoever decided to pair them together is a genius, because they have done a fantastic job putting these three together.
Yeah, definitely. And following back on Liv Morgan, I feel that she has improved so much, and partnering her up with Ruby Riott and Sarah has really helped her out a lot.
I 100% agree with that. And Sarah Logan, I mean, she's a powerhouse out of the three of them.
There's another powerhouse that in the women's division that we didn't mention earlier.
Exactly. And, I mean, what can we say about Nikki Cross? She's brand new, fresh talent into the main roster. We've seen a little bit of her down in NXT. The reason why I say it a little bit is because we don't watch it weekly, but we'll do keep up with it every now and then. So we got to see a little bit about her. I'm looking forward to see what she does.
Definitely excited to see what's in store for her in the main roster, whether she's on Raw or on SmackDown.
And it looks like she's going to be separated from Sanity. It looks like they're no longer going to be a trio, and I think that benefits her because she'll get her own spotlight. She'll get to prove herself, and she doesn't have to be under their shadow.
Yeah, expand herself, like you said.
And Bailey winning matches. She's finally getting that tiny, tiny little push and opportunity. And I'm so glad because Bailey is incredibly talented. We saw it down in NXT. But she just never gets the time, never gets the opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, excited for Bailey that she's finally getting the opportunity she deserves.
And we get to go backstage to see Jinder Mahal talking to Mr. McMahon. And he says that he would have come out to that little confrontation that happened earlier, but he didn't because one of the Singh Bros got pretty much demolished and destroyed by Braun Strowman, who is still highly upset.
See what I mean? By Elias did the right thing of telling where Baron Corbin was.
Exactly. He saved himself. I gotta agree there. He saved himself.
I'm telling you.
The Singh Bros, who did nothing wrong, got a piece of those hands, and Elias was just like, he's like, you know what? I'm gonna just save myself now. That is smart. That is brilliant. That is the type of people that you need on your team. Anyways, he's seen backstage, and then he said that he wanted an opportunity. So again, Vince tells him, fine, you can face somebody from those 4 men. If you win, you get that opportunity. And who did he pick? Finn Balor. Was I surprised? No, because I feel like Vince has always wanted Finn to prove himself, and I felt like that's the way it was supposed to go. But Armando did mention something very interesting. He said he would have picked somebody else, and I agree with Armando's pick as well.
I would have personally picked Baron Corbin. And I feel that Jinder Mahal was underestimating Finn Balor. And they did mention him that as he was the smaller man and the weaker. But no, I would have gone with Baron Corbin if it was me personally.
I 100% agree with that. And therefore, talking about Finn Balor, we get the next match, which is Finn Balor versus Jinder Mahal. The winner pretty much gets into the Fatal 4-Way. And here's where we got to see a lot of Jinder Mahal. We got to see a Jinder Mahal that I hadn't seen since he was champion down in SmackDown. We got to see the more brutal, the more aggressive one. We got to see all the talent that he actually really has.
And it's mainly because he is trying to impress Vince McMahon and get himself a spot in that match. That's going to happen later on. But also keep in mind, it's Royal Rumble season, WrestleMania season around the corner, so don't be surprised. Every single superstar wants to prove themselves.
And just like John Cena said, this is your opportunity to step up. And I feel like he really proved that in this match because he dominated the entire match. And like you said, I feel like he really did underestimate Finn Balor. He wasn't ready for what Finn has to do. And you got to keep in mind, Finn is one of those where he can be down for a long time, but he immediately bounces back and he can turn it around super, super quick.
Yeah, definitely. And, I mean, one of the reasons why I would have picked Baron Corbin is because he's too distracted on Braun Strowman.
Exactly.
You know, he would always have that, okay, Braun Strowman's going to come out, especially since Braun Strowman was looking for him throughout the night.
And I agree with that, though, because if you look at the whole Seth and Dean situation, that's exactly what happened. You know, Dean was able to get inside Seth's head to the point where he completely... I don't want to use the word destroy because he didn't destroy Seth Rollins, but mentally he did because Seth wasn't at the spot where he was supposed to be. He was out of his game.
And also Baron Corbin is still affected that he is not the general manager of Raw. So just a lot of factors on that he's not fully focused.
And once Finn Balor was able to capitalize, obviously the match took a turn and he was able to move on to the Fatal 4-Way and the main event of Raw. So, he proved himself for sure.
Definitely.
Moving on to the next match, which is Dean Ambrose versus Bobby Lashley versus Seth Rollins for the Intercontinental Championship. As we do know, no disqualifications. You can pretty much do whatever you want. It's a triple threat rules.
That is correct, but I gotta say something. Bobby Lashley has really, really impressed me these past couple of weeks, and I kind of underestimated him a little bit with Leo Rush. I didn't think it was going to work out. But, I mean, the outcome of the match, which we'll get into detail, proved me wrong.
Let's get into Dean Ambrose first. Dean is a genius. That man is brilliant. He decides to team up with Bobby Lashley to take out Seth because he knows Seth is a threat. But then he realizes, you know what? No, I can't team up with Bobby Lashley because Bobby Lashley is my biggest threat. So what does he do? Partners up with Seth, and they both take out Bobby Lashley. Well, they thought they took out Bobby Lashley. That man is a genius. He has improved so much since coming back from his return.
Definitely smart move to do. He was trying to form an alliance to try to take out his opponents.
And Seth Rollins, again, this guy is crazy talented, man. He is on another level, and especially now that he's fired up, that he got fired up basically by Triple H.
Definitely, I felt that he would have regained his Intercontinental title if it wasn't for Lio Rush that ended up playing a huge role in this match.
Lio Rush is a genius. He does not have the size, and he is super tiny, but he is smart. That man made Bobby Lashley champion, and he has brought Bobby Lashley's career to a whole new level.
Definitely. I have to agree with you on that, even though, like I said, I underestimated Lio Rush and didn't think it was going to work out, but, yet again, proved me wrong.
He is an insane powerhouse, and by him, I mean Bobby Lashley. Damn, he completely just took on both of them on his own, single-handedly.
Yeah, and he dominated most of the match, too. But, like I said, he took advantage of the opportunity and ended up being Intercontinental Champion.
It's going to be very interesting to see who his next opponents are going to be. Obviously, you can see him facing Dean Ambrose pretty soon.
Yeah, so definitely. But if Dean Ambrose doesn't win, where do you see Dean Ambrose?
Where do I see Dean Ambrose going from here? I don't know. I see him... Here's the thing. I don't know what's next for him, but I see him moving over to SmackDown and probably facing somebody like Rusev. I see him being a top star in SmackDown because if you really think about it, Raw has their people said and done. You never know when Roman Reigns is going to come back. You don't know when Kevin Owens is going to come back, right? And so then that puts him in a situation where it's like, where does he go next? And I feel like in SmackDown, he could have brilliant matches with other people if you really think about it.
Yeah, and I mean, he's already proven himself in SmackDown. I mean, he became WWE champion by himself. He didn't have Seth Rollins or Roman Reigns.
Exactly. I 100% agree with that. But, I mean, you got to keep in mind, with somebody like Dean, you can put him with anybody, and he's more than likely going to succeed. He could possibly find a tag partner, I don't know, and go for the tag team championships.
I see him possibly WWE champion, probably after WrestleMania. And if anything, he's probably going to regain his Intercontinental title down the road before Mania, if anything.
100% agree with that. Moving forward, I want to see what they're going to do with Bobby Lashley, where he's going to go. Now, obviously, down the road, it's bound to happen that Lio Rush is going to feud with Bobby Lashley. It's just going to be interesting to see how long it's going to take for them to get to that point.
Yeah, definitely.
So I'm definitely looking forward to that. But moving on to Alexa Bliss. Excellent. Brilliant. This is another historic announcement. The women are making history. They are taking over the WWE and pretty much everything.
So, during Christmas, we know Vince McMahon had announced that the women's tag titles were coming, but we just didn't know when and where and the place that they were gonna.
And for some reason, WWE chose a moment of bliss, and they also chose Memphis, Tennessee, to debut the first ever WWE Women's Tag Team titles. In my opinion, they look great. I like the design, and obviously I knew they were going to be white because that's kind of just a color that has been represented or has been given to women that represents the women.
All I got to say is that's awesome that the women are getting tag team titles for the women's division.
And the first champions will be crowned at the Elimination Chamber in about 5 weeks in Houston, Texas. So 3 teams from SmackDown, 3 teams from Raw. We can already assume one team from Raw is going to be and what team from SmackDown is. Armando, announce the Raw one. I'll announce the SmackDown one.
So, the Raw one would be Bayley and Sasha.
And the SmackDown one will be none other than Iconic.
The Iconics.
Exactly.
But like I said, definitely proud of the women in the WWE. They've come so far, and they deserve it, not only because they've been stealing the show every time they main event a pay-per-view or they get a first ever.
Yes, and at the Elimination Chamber, I can pretty much already tell you this is going to be the main event. We're going to crown the first ever tag team women's champions inside the Elimination Chamber, and it's more than likely going to be the main event.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting how it's going to work out, just because we haven't seen tag teams inside the Elimination Chamber.
We've seen it for the men, and the way it works is both members are inside of the pod, but it's going to be very interesting to see who else is going to take for those tag team titles. And I can pretty much see the Riot Squad, but the interesting part is who is Ruby going to pick. Now remember, they're a trio. You could only pick either Sarah Logan or Liv Morgan, so she's going to have to make a decision there. That's another, group that I see.
I also see Tamina and Nia Jax as another tag team, so that leaves us another one for Raw.
Yeah, so that could more than likely complete your 3 teams. For SmackDown, we could have Naomi and Lana. I know they've been teaming in live events. That could be another possibility. And then it's going to be interesting to see who else they decide to throw. I mean,
I could possibly see Ember Moon and Natty.
Or you can also see Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville. So, we'll see. But, moving on to...
Before we get into that, let us know who do you guys want to see as the first ever women's tag team champions, and who do you guys want to see in that Elimination Chamber for the tag titles.
We already gave you guys a couple of options. Let us know what you guys think. Tweet us, tag us, comment below, everything.
Sorry to interrupt. And they're going to be great options. I mean, like I said, I'm excited for the titles.
Exactly, me too. But keep in mind, we could also have Legends return. LA Cool, the Bellas, other opportunities. Trish and Lita, possibly. You never know, so it's going to be interesting to see. Keep that in mind. Moving on to Alexa then interviewing none other than Paul Heyman. Well, he interrupts, but basically she was supposed to interview him. And they basically start talking about Brock Lesnar, and then Paul Heyman goes on to say a little something about each individual. And something that catch my attention was what he said about Drew McIntyre. Which he said, keep an eye out for that guy.
Yeah, I have to agree with what Paul Heyman says. He has all the potential to be a future Universal Champion or WWE Champion.
100% agree with that. You know, Finn Balor, he says he's always been somebody with a lot of potential. And he's right. He knows all these people like the palm of his hands.
Definitely. And one of the things about Paul Heyman is him being the advocate of Brock Lesnar. He knows how to study his opponents, and he does a great job of telling Brock Lesnar what his opponent's weaknesses are.
100%. And then they get interrupted by Otis from Heavy Machinery, who was a tag team down in NXT, who is gonna very soon debut on the main roster. We don't know which brand they will be going to, but he interrupted them.
All I gotta say is one thing: stakes and weights, baby.
What he said. I'm like, what he said.
Excited to see what this brand new tag team is gonna bring, whether to Raw or to the SmackDown tag team division.
Personally, if I had to choose where they would go, I would pick Raw just because of the lack of tag teams that they do have there. But keep in mind, they would be fantastic in any brand.
I would have to agree with you. They should be put in the Raw tag team division. I think they would do great. They'll get more opportunity there, and they would prove themselves there. Finn
Balor versus Drew McIntyre versus Baron Corbin versus John Cena. The winner of this match goes on to face Brock Lesnar at the Royal Rumble. Wow. Incredible match. Fantastic. This was definitely the match of the night. Look at all the talent that you have. All elite talent. Whether you consider Finn and Baron Corbin. But, hey, they kept up. They showed they can play with the big guys.
Like you said, any of these superstars are worthy of facing Brock Lesnar at the Royal Rumble.
Exactly. And whether he ends up facing Finn Balor, Drew McIntyre, Baron Corbin, or John Cena, it was going to definitely be a fight. We've seen him fight John Cena, like you said. Cena is 2-1 against Brock. Now it's going to be interesting to see who faces him. But Drew McIntyre, man, crazy talented. He is a full package. I believe he is going to be a champion very, very soon. And I already told you guys, I gave you guys my predictions last week for the Royal Rumble winners, and one of those people that I chose was Seth Rollins and Drew McIntyre, and that's for a reason.
Yeah, I can see why you picked him. He's just had, like I said before, a great, great year. He's proven himself. He makes a statement each and every single time, and don't be surprised if he actually wins. That's a good pick. I would have to agree with you on those two.
And keep in mind, Finn Balor went into this match not 100% because he had already competed with Jinder Mahal previously in the night. So he was already giving everybody else an opportunity. Everybody already had a head start and an advantage against Finn Balor. He wasn't the fresh man like everybody else.
No, and very, very impressive. Finn Balor proving not only to the WWE Universe but to Vince McMahon why he is main event material and why he was the first ever Universal Champion.
And Baron Corbin is also one of those guys where he's talented, but he's also very, very smart. And we saw that in this match because he took advantage of every opening and every single opportunity that was presented to him.
He's one of the few superstars that transferred from SmackDown to Raw that has actually been successful in the Raw brand.
Exactly. And you have somebody like John Cena, the veteran, who is just there to basically put over the newer talent. You hardly ever saw him in this match, and when you did, it was to help elevate and help make another superstar an elite.
And what he did at the end of the match.
Class act, respect. He pretty much told Finn Balor, for what it's worth, I believe in you. And that is a class act from John Cena to Finn Balor.
Yeah, which that leaves Finn Balor facing Brock Lesnar at the Royal Rumble, which is one hell of a match. We'll see who wins. Me personally, I think Brock Lesnar might retain the title.
I agree with you on that one, but also keep in mind that there's two personalities to Finn Balor. There's Finn Balor, and then there's the Demon King, Finn Balor. So that one is a lot more dangerous. So let's keep that in mind. If he brings out the Demon, I feel like Brock's chances decrease, but I also see him retaining regardless of the Demon or Finn Balor showing up at the Royal Rumble.
As long as Finn Balor stays out of Suplex City, he should be totally fine. But like I said, I see Brock Lesnar retaining.
100% agree with that. Now let's get into SmackDown Live, which is always a show that never disappoints. They were live from Birmingham, Alabama. So the show starts off with
Becky Lynch showing up on her SUV.
Blacked out SUV.
Walking into the arena to address Asuka facing her at the Royal Rumble.
But as she's doing that, she bumps into the New Day and Heavy Machinery, and they're blending some sort of smoothie. It looks really nasty, but they're like, "You want some?" And then she like tries it, and she's like, "That was weak." I love what they're doing with her. It's brilliant.
I have to agree with you on that one. This is probably the best Becky Lynch we've seen since she got called up to the main roster.
Yeah, I 100%, agree with that. But she makes her way over to the ring, and she basically calls out Asuka. That's just what she does.
Yeah, she pretty much says that since Asuka had the title, nobody has talked about it. How when the man Becky Lynch had the title, everybody, the whole world was trending worldwide that Becky had the title.
Basically, it was that she made the SmackDown Women's Championship relevant, and that Asuka has done nothing with it, and that she is going to take back what's rightfully hers. at the Royal Rumble.
And she also mentioned that after last year's WrestleMania, Asuka kind of lost track of her career. Really wasn't at the level that she was, which is true.
And so then, Iconics decide to interrupt. I just have to say it like that all the time because, it's just the way they say it just gets stuck in my head. But the Iconics come out and then they're like, well, we're going to go on to win the Rumble and then we're going to go on to win the tag team championships, the women's tag team championships at the Elimination Chamber, and that they really do not care who comes out champion at the Royal Rumble because they are going to beat that person. So whether it's Asuka or Becky, they are ready for them. So then Becky is like, if you're so tough, why don't you just step in the ring with me right now?
Which that led to Becky versus Peyton Royce. And Becky, keep in mind, Becky Lynch, the man, wasn't ready to compete. So she competed with her street clothes the way she got into the arena.
Yeah, basically in jeans, like in a tank top. That's basically how she competed. But also keep in mind, like, she gave the option. She was like, well, which one of you guys is facing me? And she obviously picked Peyton Royce. This match was longer than the next match, but she didn't give Peyton Royce any opportunity. Becky Lynch pretty much proved her point.
And keep in mind, Asuka had come out and she was at ringside during the match.
Exactly. And she was analyzing and keeping very, very close eye on Becky Lynch. Keep in mind, she's the champion. She has to know who she's facing. She has to analyze her opponent.
One of the mistakes that Becky was making was that she kept on getting distracted with Asuka being ringside. She kept on trying to make a statement on each and every single move that she executed. She would look back at Asuka.
But at the end of the day, she put Peyton Royce in the armbar and made her tap, and therefore she showed Asuka, and this is what pissed off Asuka. She was like, did the move, and then she pretty much showed her, this is going to be you at the Royal Rumble, and if I lock it in, you're done.
Yeah, and another thing too, Peyton Royce was pretty impressive. For moments of the match, she would capitalize and not let Becky build up any offensive.
And keep in mind, like, the Iconics are super, super talented, but when you put them up against somebody like Becky Lynch, obviously they're going to be put over. But in this occasion, it was very, very important and very crucial for Becky Lynch to dominate the match.
Yeah, and Becky's win, obviously trying to make a statement, that led to Asuka versus Billie Kay. Now it was Asuka's turn to make a statement and to show Becky, the man, what she was made of.
Exactly. And so Asuka being super, super upset, she wants to fight somebody. So who does she go after? Billie Kay as they're leaving, because Billie Kay wants nothing to do with Asuka. Absolutely nothing.
I know you wouldn't want anything to do with Asuka.
I'm ready for Asuka.
You're ready for
I'm ready for Asuka. I definitely am. But that's beside the point. This match wasn't even 2 minutes long. I kid you not. She basically came in, she put her in the armbar, which is, as we know, Becky Lynch's finisher, and she pretty much got rid of her because then she put her on the Asuka lock.
Yeah, definitely. While she was putting the armbar, Billie Kay countered it and tried to get the win via pinfall, but obviously that didn't work out. And like you said, Asuka did the Asuka lock and was able to get the win.
AJ Styles, he then comes out and he is seen outside in the concession stands, by the merch stands, and he's pretty much talking, if these people want a hot dog, let them have a hot dog. If these people want to buy popcorn, they can have popcorn. Whatever they want, they can have it because they spend their hard-earned money on a ticket, and therefore they should be able to do whatever they want, boo whoever they want, cheer whoever they want, eat whatever they want. And that Daniel Bryan's point is beside the point, basically.
And speaking of Daniel Bryan, he comes through the crowd and attacks AJ Styles.
And Daniel Bryan ended up with mustard all over him. So it's going to be very interesting to see. This is obviously a heated feud. AJ getting his rematch clause, basically, even though he had to earn it, but still his rematch clause. I don't know. I don't see AJ winning, but it's very, very interesting because if you keep in mind what has happened the last couple of weeks, AJ was kind of a heel, right? And now, all of a sudden, he just turned face. So it's kind of random, and it's going to be interesting to see where he goes after the Rumble. Because keep in mind, like I said, he was a heel before he won, pretty much, and became the number one contender to face Daniel Bryan. But after the Rumble, is he still going to be face, or are they going to just transition him back into being that heel that he was a couple of weeks ago?
It's going to be interesting, like you said, what AJ Styles are we going to see? I think we're going to see the AJ Styles that Vince McMahon wants to see.
Exactly. And I think this might be one of the feuds that is going to cause him to bring that AJ Styles out. All right, moving on to Samoa Joe versus Mustafa Ali.
It was going to be a great match, but unfortunately, Samoa Joe attacks Mustafa Ali from behind, and the match never started, and attacked him throughout the rest.
Yes, and so you have to keep in mind, Samoa Joe is one of those people that gets inside your head. He knows how to do that, and he hasn't mastered it super, super well. And obviously, he has now taken this feud to a whole new level because Mustafa Ali, keep in mind, he's a rookie in Samoa Joe's mind. He's like, okay, I'm going to use the opportunity to take down Mustafa Ali and not let him become one of those elite superstars. And I feel like that's what he's trying to do. Not only that, but he's also trying to prove a point to management that he deserves another title shot opportunity.
And to also the competitors of the Royal Rumble. He is trying to make a statement to let them know that he is a serious threat in the 30-man Royal Rumble.
And I feel like, you know, when you're in the Rumble and, like, somebody that is, like, super tall or super big, usually you have, like, 4 or 5 people just team up to take him out. That's what they're going to have to do with Samoa Joe. But it's going to be very interesting to see who eliminates him and how far he gets into the Royal Rumble.
And I think, too, I would have loved to see Mustafa Ali face Daniel Bryan for the WWE
You know, I think that would have been a brilliant match just because we already saw him pin the champion. And if you ask me, and from what I know, if you pin the champion, you're automatically first in line to a WWE championship opportunity or any championship opportunity that you have.
Yeah, definitely have to agree with you on that. But not only that, Mustafa Ali, you could tell that he came into the main roster motivated, wanting to prove himself and to show more than what he had already done in 205.
Exactly. And I feel like him being on the main roster now is really, really going to help him. But he does and is desperately going to need a win against Samoa Joe at some point or some huge talent, which he already had against Daniel Bryan. All right, moving on to probably the match of the year so far and the match that stole the show at SmackDown. Andrade versus Rey Mysterio.
Last week, they faced each other in a tag match, and even though it was a tag match, the moment that they were in the ring and they wrestled against each other pretty much stole the show too, and they were trending topic worldwide.
Exactly. 100% agree with that. But a little tiny factor that I think should be mentioned that's important is it's no longer Andrade Cien Almas. It is Andrade, and I am, I guess, not highly upset, but I am kind of bummed because that's what made Andrade unique. He had that mix of Andrade, Cien in Spanish, and then you had Almas. You know, his name was just kind of different. It stood out, and it really represented who he was.
But I also see why. It's a new year, new person, and it's the year of Tranquilo.
Exactly, and they have proven that every single week so far that we've been in the new year in 2019.
And Andrade is making a statement and proving why this is the year of Tranquilo.
And he definitely proved it in this match.
Yeah, and I mean, facing Rey Mysterio, they both have similar styles of wrestling. You know, fast pace. I think the only difference between both of them is obviously Mysterio's experience, and on Andrade is that he has power.
Exactly. But, I mean, also keep in mind, we've also seen, piggybacking on that, we've also seen Andrade say that one of his inspirations in wrestling is Rey Mysterio. So being able to face him and being able to be in a feud with him is a dream to him. And getting a win over Rey Mysterio is definitely something big.
Not once, but twice. But if you also look at the match, you could tell there was that level of respect for each other during the match.
And not only that, the chemistry that these two men had. You know that they are meant to have the best matches. Like, they steal the show each and every single time. Their creativity, their athleticism, like you said, they have similar wrestling styles. And that is something they both know really, really well.
And what do I always say when superstars know each other so well? That we want to see creativity, that we want to see new movesets, and that's what Mysterio and Andrade bring to the table in these type of matches.
Exactly. That, man, I just see every time I see a match like this, I have no words. And here's why. Because they completely, like you said, they bring something new to the table, but it's also something like I have an expectation. I know this match is going to be great. I know they're going to deliver. But then when the match actually happens, you're like, okay, I was not expecting that. That exceeded my expectations. This was way better than what I was expecting. And it just becomes like, I want to keep seeing this.
And this match kept me at the edge of my seat. You know, on one side we have Rey Mysterio, which I grew up watching, you know, and now we have the future of SmackDown Live, Andrade Cien Almas, two of the top stars. I mean, I didn't even know who to go for, but at the end of the day, Andrade ended up getting the win, and Selena played a huge factor in this match too. She caused a distraction, and Andrade was able to capitalize.
But I also feel like the very deserved wins, you know, he was losing left and right in 2018, and then he and Selena came up with the game plan, and they were like, you know what, 2019 is going to be the year of Tranquilo. This is Andrade and Selena's year, and it definitely is, and they are proving it each and every single week.
Yeah, and Mysterio was always a step ahead of Andrade. They didn't let him build a lot of offensive.
And I feel like that comes from him knowing, again, his wrestling style. I feel like he didn't have to do his homework on Andrade because he already knows. This is his wrestling style. It's similar to mine. I just have to think in the offensive mindset.
Yeah, and then not only that, but it was also a fast-paced match. And during the match, we saw that Mysterio was going to do a crossbody off the top rope. And what does Andrade do? He counters with a drop kick. I mean, how impressive is that from Andrade?
Definitely. Like you said, creativity, the talent is there. The style is there. Brilliant match. This was one of my favorite matches of all time.
And like I said, this is a WrestleMania worthy match, and again, they proved it this week on SmackDown.
Speaking of WrestleMania, who is Mysterio facing and who is Andrade facing? Could they possibly be facing each other? That is a possibility. But, I mean, I don't know. If Andrade wins the Rumble, then, I mean, we know where he's going. If Mysterio wins the Rumble, we know where he's going. But that doesn't mean that's our predictions. We already gave you guys those. But it's just like kind of brainstorming where they're going to go from here.
I want to see Andrade be champion at WrestleMania. Whether it's the U.S. champion,
WWE champion.
But if most likely, I would like to see him to start off with the U.S. championship.
Exactly. Moving on to Jimmy Uso and Mandy Rose segment. So basically, early on in the show, we got to see Mandy Rose send Jimmy Uso a card, which basically was the key to her hotel room.
And Jimmy thought it was from his wife, Naomi.
And he was super excited. He was like, it's our anniversary tomorrow. And he was excited. And then Jay reads the card and he's like, well, I mean, it says Mandy on it. So then he tells him, so what are you going to do? Are you going to go see Mandy at her hotel room or are you not? So then Jimmy decides to go. But here's the thing. It was a strategic plan from both Jimmy and Naomi because Naomi was waiting outside.
Here's where I think Jimmy is kind of screwing up. He should use his twin brother to take his place.
Play a little twin magic?
Yeah.
Hey, that works. I mean, see, personally, that's what I would have done. But, I mean, hey, he's risking it all here. And he has everything to lose. But it's interesting where they're going to go with the storyline. Because as we've seen, it's obviously a storyline that's going to go and lead on to a feud between Mandy and Naomi. Which is kind of already happening. But when are we going to get to see the match? At the Rumble? At Mania? At the Chamber? At Fastlane?
I mean, we've seen them already throw hands, and I mean, you could tell they don't like each other.
Exactly. But hey, I'm looking forward to see where they decide to go with this. All right, moving on to SmackDown Live commissioner. Well, I guess ex-commissioner, since they don't actually have an actual commissioner now. But you guys know what I mean. Shane McMahon's birthday celebration or birthday bash thrown by none other than his best in the world tag team partner,
The
The Miz. So he basically comes out and like they show this package of Shane McMahon's pretty much best moments, best matches, and then they start talking about how they really are the best tag team, and then Miz gives them a gift, a very cool gift, by the way. He got him some Jordans.
Jordan's 33s, by the way.
Exactly, and they were white. And Shane thought it was like the coolest gift ever. He was super excited about it. But then they get interrupted by the bar. Exactly. As we do know, they are facing them at the Royal Rumble for the Tag Team Championships. At this point, I honestly think The Miz and Shane are going to come out victorious of this match. Simply because of what went down in the segment. We did get to see that Sheamus was going to face Miz.
Yeah, and keep in mind that The Miz didn't want anything to do with the bar at that time. But Shane McMahon did say that for his birthday wish, he wanted to see The Miz versus Sheamus, and obviously The Miz didn't want to have the match because he wasn't dressed to compete.
Exactly, but the moment that Shane told him, this is my birthday wish, I know you can do it, I know you can beat him, you are the Miz, you are one half of the best in the world, yada 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 yada, Miz gets super excited and he's like, yeah, let's go, let's do it, and he wrestles, and let me tell you, he did a fantastic job. He has improved so much. He is one of the top stars in my book, and he definitely had a great 2018, and I know 2019 is going to be way better for him.
Yeah, in my opinion, that was my pick for winning the men's Royal Rumble, going on and facing Daniel Bryan at WrestleMania. But most likely, he's not going to be in the Rumble just because he is having a tag match, and I had said this before the tag match was made official.
Hey, guys, the funniest part is that he chose The Miz. He said it on the podcast. A few months later, we pretty much came to the conclusion that wasn't going to happen based on this storyline. And then he was like, fine, I'll pick somebody else just so that you guys can have a pick. He picks Finn, and then Finn goes on to face Brock at the Royal Rumble. So now it's like Armando's, both his picks are in pretty huge storylines right now. So my question to you is, are you going to pick another person, or are you just going to leave it? Because at this point, if you pick another person, I am scared they're not even going to make it to the Rumble.
I'll tell you what, I'm not going to pick anybody, because if I pick somebody, knowing my luck, they're going to be in a match at the Royal Rumble. So I'll just leave it at that.
That is the funniest thing ever. I just had to put that out there because,
Go back to the podcasts and you will see what I'm talking about.
Exactly. All right, moving on into the Smash. Sheamus, he is also one of the ones who has improved majorly over the last couple of years. I think partnering him with Cesaro was brilliant because, he's a mentor now. I think he sees him as a mentor is what I meant to say. And, The Miz, major improvement. We know his skill in the microphone and in the ring.
Yeah, and obviously it was a short match. But, you got to be impressive with The Miz. Willing to compete and was able to get the victory over Sheamus.
And keep in mind, Shane played a really huge role in this match because, when Cesaro did try to interfere, he basically grabbed him from behind and just yanked him, and Cesaro went flying. And not only that, but, he helped The Miz win. And like you said before, you got to do what you got to do to get the victory. And not only that, he did the coast-to-coast to Sheamus after the match.
But you hit the nail on the coffin. Shane McMahon and The Miz seem to be on the same page. And that is huge, because if they're going to have a title match at the Royal Rumble, it's crucial for them to be on the same page and be motivated. And if you actually look at the match, that's what happened.
And I see them coming out victorious. But That's all I have for you guys on this episode of Wrestling with Siblings. Armando, do you want to add anything?
That's all I have to. Thank you guys so much for all your love and support.
And remember, we appreciate you guys so much. Become a sibling today. Subscribe to our podcast on iTunes. You can listen to us now on iTunes Podcast. And you can also listen on Anchor. Become a sibling today. And for those of you guys who do not know what WWS stands for, Armando, can you tell them what WWS stands for?
Wrestling with Siblings.
Join us next week on a brand new episode of Wrestling with Siblings. Good night, everybody.